granniopteryx, granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Permission to appeal, both to Somani and to the Home Secretary, against the grant of the interim injunction. We allow the appeals and we set aside the injunction imposed on 19 August 2025.
Some of you will remember the ridiculous Tide Pod challenge that was a bit of a craze among young people, or rather among idiots. 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it? Tide Pods, by the way, Tide is a detergent, and they came in these little pods that looked a bit like sweets, and kids were swallowing them even though they were poisonous because, I don't know why, but they were doing it. And what the Labour Party is doing now is the political equivalent of swallowing Tide Pods. Look, there was a judgment about the Bell Hotel. The judgment said that the Bell had planning permission as a hotel. When they put migrants in, whoever put them in, this was change of use, and this had not been allowed by the Epping Forest District Council. And so it was illegal, and the migrants in there would have to be moved out. The Home Office appealed. Now, that was going to end up only one way, because it was the Home Office and they would find the right judge to come up with the right opinion, and indeed they did. Lord Justice Bean here, that'll amuse some of you Americans. Lord Justice Bean basically said that they can't move the migrants out of there. He wasn't talking about the illegality of it. He said the original judge who'd said that those guys had to go wasn't taking into account the disruption it would cause the migrants and the government, because then the government would have to find somewhere else for the migrants. They'd become destitute. And so that idea of the Bell Hotel not being allowed to keep migrants couldn't be upheld. Well, I heard him say that and I thought, there's something very wrong there. I'm not a lawyer, I keep telling people that, but it seems to me that this guy here was thinking about the consequences of a legal action. And that's not his job. It's his job to decide whether something is legal or not. If the consequences are bad, that should be for the government to sort out, because it's their illegality that did it, that caused the situation in the first place. At least that's how I looked at it. And interestingly enough, I found that the black belt barrister was of a similar opinion. So yeah, maybe I should have been a lawyer. So anyway, Yvette Cooper and the Home Office won this round. But did they? I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video. Please share it. Go on. Click that like button. Go on, do it now. Click, like, thumbs up. Yeah? All right. Click that like button and share the video if you want to, and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to help me financially, you could do that. I'd be very delighted with any help possible. Now, I've been looking for the quote because there's a sort of misquote going round here. I couldn't find it, but it was the need to meet the human rights of asylum seekers by housing them in hotels outweighs safety concerns of local families. That is a paraphrase of what the legal argument was. They didn't actually say it quite as boldly as that. But in essence, that's what the government lawyers said to the judge when they were asking for a reversal of the decision on the Bell Hotel. And this got some traction with the judge, and the case was won for the government. Just in case you're interested, Pyrrhic victory comes from the Greek king Pyrrhus, or Pyrrhus, who in 279 BC won the Battle of Asculum against the Romans, but it cost him so many of his troops and his tanks, elephants, which was the late Iron Age equivalent. He was supposed to have said, one more victory like that and we're done for. Anyway, back to Epping. Just before the 2024 elections, I read an article, probably in The Spectator, but I wouldn't guarantee it, whatever. The writer was definitely someone with a conservative viewpoint, and he reported his frustration after talking to someone from a red wall town about voting intentions. Oh, you people in the US, remember over here, red means Labour. OK, the background was that in 2020, this interviewee had voted Conservative for the first time in his life, like many of the people in the red wall towns. But he had become so disillusioned with the Conservatives that even though he didn't really like Starmer, he was going to vote Labour anyway because, as he put it, Labour was a party for the working man. I don't think anyone from genuine working classes now believes that anymore, nor do many from the struggling middle classes. And then there are those I call the ruralists. This is an as yet unrecognised class. They're the people, but I've just made up the name, but I think it's accurate. They're the people who live outside the big conurbations, so away from metropolitan elites. They live in the country, and the whole lot of them, they occupy the entire spectrum of social rankings, all the way from the landowners to the street sweepers. So you'd think they'd all vote differently, but my theory is that as from this last couple of years, they're all bound together as a voting bloc by the interests of their rural areas, which are being plundered by the metropolitan elite I just spoke about. And this plunder takes the form of the reduction in local services, the cutback of all sorts of services that are more expensive to apply in spread out areas. And then there's the imposition of solar farms and taxes that don't make any sense, or silly theoretical laws dreamt up by urban bureaucrats like Ed Miliband. And of course, there's the migrant accommodation of various sorts in what used to be rural amenities and meeting places, local hotels, for instance, and holiday parks, as well as nearby military camps. It's the ruralists who'll be voting reform, I suspect, in their hundreds of thousands now, come the next cycle. Now to Epping, which isn't completely rural, but it's rural enough. I'm going to show you the last election results. So you see, the Conservative Party won, and they got 18,038 votes. Rosalind Dore for the Labour Party got 12,356. It is quite a difference, but it's not an enormous difference. And there was a sort of chance for the Labour Party. Next cycle, it wouldn't surprise me if they came down here below the Greens. And that's even with this proposed 16-year-old vote. I'm quite sure there'll be as many kids influenced by their parents' opinions as firebrand socialist types who don't know much about the world. And it will all be because of this victory for the Home Office under this present Labour government, because it's now blindingly obvious to anyone with a brain that the people who populate this government have nothing but contempt for the people who are outside their political bubble. They're comfortable in the knowledge that they have the protection of a mainstream media kept in good, tame order by threats of denial of access for interviews and the like. But just like with their horse and cart, web illiterate attempt to restrict the internet, so they don't realise that those voters they so despise are finding out about them anyway. So Angela Rayner, for instance, this is in the Standard, dodged a £40,000 stamp duty payment when buying her Hove flat. She did some shady business deals and lives in a nice holiday home instead of the constituency that she's supposed to represent. It wouldn't surprise me if she was voted out in the next cycle altogether by Ashton-under-Lyne. I'm sure the people there must be quite annoyed about her abandonment of them. Now, years ago, John Prescott, who was the second in command to Tony Blair, was also caught. Let's put it this way. John Prescott is to be interviewed by police investigating whether he broke anti-corruption laws by accepting an invitation to stay with Philip Anschutz, the man bidding to build a casino at the Millennium Dome. That's Prescott. Now, that didn't get much traction. This was in 2006. The internet hadn't grown up yet. Also, Peter Mandelson got a secret £373,000 loan from someone or other. Cabinet Minister Peter Mandelson is involved in a secret financial arrangement with his beleaguered government colleague Geoffrey Robinson concerning a loan to buy his London home. So The Guardian came out with this. But again, it didn't get much traction. That was pre-internet. It's a little more difficult for people like Rachel Reeves, who lied about her CV. A retired former colleague, Kev Gillette, in a public post on LinkedIn, he wrote, back in 2009, the Right Honourable Rachel Reeves worked 3 levels below me. She was a complaints support manager at HBOS, not an economist. And that was sort of embarrassing, but the government thought they could get away with it. And Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary, who referred to himself as an ex-solicitor, I believe he just didn't get the qualifications. He started it, but he didn't finish. So they're lying about their qualifications and they think nobody's going to bother. And to a certain extent, they'd have been right. But this Epping thing is going to be something else. I think it's the Epping thing that's the straw that will break the camel's back. Because, you see, this isn't just a bit of fiddling, personal fiddling. As I said, Prescott was accused of some sort of corruption. Mandelson was accused of some sort of corruption. Rachel Reeves has been accused of fiddling the books, and Jonathan Reynolds too. This is all personal, and people will let their politicians get away with a lot if they're feeling sympathetic towards their political ambitions. But the Epping thing, it's a full-scale war against the people. I found this here. It says the British government has declared war on its own people. That's how people are starting to think now. So this judgment, this is your actual Pyrrhic victory. One more win, one more victory like that, and the Labour Party is absolutely done for. And quite frankly, that can't come soon enough, as far as I'm concerned. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.